I'm going to try and do the impossible. I'm going to try and pick the 2024 Masters winner from watching every single player press conference this year. And 2, I'm going to try and lower your handicap based on the secret nuggets that the best players in the world shared. Let's start with the GOAT, shall we? Tiger was asked why he keeps playing in the Masters. He says he loves golf. He loves to compete. This is why he gets up every day. Regarding his body, every shot that's not on the tee box is painful. And if everything goes well, he should be able to win one more Masters. Rory famously missed the cut last year and has changed up his routine by playing the Valero Texas Open last week. He hit his irons well, which is what he wanted to do, and he talked about making this week just like every other week throughout the season. The thing that stood out, though, is he talked about the feeling of being 18 years old and driving down Magnolia Lane for the first time. He talked about embracing and embodying that gratitude and that excitement of his first time, i.e., kind of encompassing beginner's mind, which is a great tool to be able to pull yourself out of old patterns and see it with new eyes. The thing I loved about Jon Rahm's interview is obviously he's getting a ton of LIV questions since leaving for the LIV Tour, and he got asked, is it going to be an issue of having less competitive reps? He smiled and basically said, who says less competitive reps is a bad thing? His body physically feels better than it did last year when he won, and he's probably the only defending champ in history to come into the Masters with a chip on his shoulder. Mr. Spieth talked about how it doesn't matter what his form is coming into Augusta, it seems to just bring the best out of his game. He's a creative visualizer type of player, so hitting off of weird lies and creating shots seems to help him play well. He did talk about his wrist issue coming up and popping up throughout the season. Apparently, if his wrist flares up, it takes about 24 hours until he's able to use it again. Fingers crossed it doesn't happen during the Masters this year, but something to keep an eye on. Brooks started his interview off with a bang by basically saying, if you can't play well in the biggest events, something's wrong with you. He was asked if he knows his history in the game. He smiles and says, I know there's 19 people ahead of me in all-time majors. And also, it sounds like since becoming a dad, he's learned to laugh off more bad shots, come back after a bad round, and not be so debilitated mentally. Now, if you want to lower your handicap, listening to the number one player in the world, Scottie Scheffler, and 2022 Masters champion, is basically a masterclass in how to play good golf. He talked about how his golf doesn't define him. It's just what he does. It's not who he is. But what I found most interesting is at the range, he obsesses over his fundamentals. He doesn't get into positions. He doesn't worry about his swing. He's all about his grip, stance, posture, and that's usually what is off anytime he starts to hit loose shots. He also says something I love, which is leveraging anxiousness and nerves as a tool to amplify focus. So if you're nervous, it means you care more about what's about to happen. So instead of trying to fight that, you embrace it and use it to focus even deeper. Viktor Hovland was definitely the most unusual interview I saw. The guy won the FedEx Cup and then just totally changed his swing. This entire interview is basically about his swing changes, new coaches, what he's trying to find, how he hasn't worked on his short game in the last 2 to 3 months because he's so obsessed with his swing. Probably not what you want to hear when it comes to picking a potential winner. But quite on the flip side, Wyndham Clark was an interesting one because he is the rare case of being number 4 in the world but being a rookie at Augusta National. When asked about the fact that a first-time Masters player has not won since 1979, he smiled and said records are meant to be broken. Wyndham loves competing and his goal is to enjoy the week, and he loves the fact that he's now being asked to different press conferences because it shows that all of his hard work is finally paying off. Ludwig, another first-timer at the Masters and also a great Rolex Daytona on his wrist. I'm really impressed with his mindset. He said things very similar to Scottie Scheffler, the number one player in the world, that he's not fighting things that come in. He's embracing it and using it to amplify his focus and his moment. So he seems very calm and excited to embrace the first-timer challenge. Now, don't let Xander's chill San Diego vibes fool you. This guy's an absolute killer. I think he has 3 top 10s in his last 5 Masters, including a solo second. His friends compliment him after another top 10, but he kind of shrugs it off and says, I want to win. Apparently, all year long, Xander's practicing weird lies that he doesn't need in any other event just to prepare for Augusta National. He loves the creativity of the place, he just loves the week, and the guy's the ultimate competitor. And finally, the 2021 Masters champion, Hideki Matsuyama. Hideki has arguably the best results of anyone in the last 6 to 7 years at Augusta National. Always in the top 20, always up there and consistent. It was very clear early in his interview, he doesn't just want one Masters jacket, he wants two. He just won at Riviera, and he seems ready to make another run this year. So of all the interviews we watched, I think it's got to be between three guys. The defending champ with a chip on his shoulder, Jon Rahm, the number one player in the world, Scottie Scheffler, or the man to finally break through, Xander Schauffele. What did I learn from the best players in the world to help you lower your handicap? Two things. One, these guys have the best swings in the world, yet they obsess over fundamentals more than anyone else. They are focused on doing the little things right, where the amateur golfers, we change everything after a couple bad shots. They stay course and they focus on the basics. And two, they're not scared of being nervous. They don't try and block out anxiety. They embrace it and they use it as a way to amplify focus. Who do you guys think will win the 2024 Masters?